Mean Girls is iconic in its lasting cultural relevance. It's still talked about till this day, and lots of people look back fondly on this film. It's very quotable.
I can't go out. I'm sick.
Boo, you whore.
And one of those movies you can always rewatch. I think what makes the story unique is that Regina's character has this layer of humanity in her and isn't completely vilified by the narrative. In fact, Katie, Janice, and Regina are all guilty of being mean girls, and the story is ultimately them breaking free of that vicious cycle. The heroes of the story are just as bad as the villain, and the path forward is learning a different way of living. In a way, you can kind of view the school as a microcosm of how the real world operates, exactly like a jungle. Regina George is the ultimate woman who has carved out a niche of power within an oppressive system that only validates girls through their looks. So while she wields great influence, she is ultimately made vulnerable by that same power. Because it relies on the fragile foundation, on capitalizing on a narrow vision of femininity, Janice tries to break free of that vision, but is still subjugated by its power, and Katie just ends up mirroring it. It's only when the absurdity of that system is laid bare, such as the hallway fights and gymnasium scene, that the healing process begins. That process takes time, and it's still messy, but ultimately, the characters find a way to break free from it. The way the story is told just has a kind of brutal truth that I think resonated with audiences, because despite the melodrama, it's so familiar and real. But who is Regina George really? Does she have depth, or is she just a dumb blonde? Regina George is a stone-cold and the worst of the plastics, but she's a teenager with issues. By the end of the movie, she is working through them and is happier and a better person. She shows many traits of narcissism, such as seeing herself as superior to her classmates, when really nobody liked her, treating others like crap to make it to the top by backstabbing the other plastics, valuing her appearance a lot, and lacking empathy for others, except herself of course. She's rich and lives in a big house, yet has no hobbies or extracurricular activities to fill her time besides mindless consumption, such as shopping, and is clearly bored with her own life, so she manipulates and spreads rumors behind other girls' backs to fill her time. Her attitude toward Janice screams this. After constantly blowing her off to be with her first boyfriend in middle school, Regina chose to believe that Janice was weirdly jealous of her boyfriend and obsessed with Regina, rather than being hurt and rightly angry at Regina being a bad friend. And after Regina started the untrue rumor that Janice was a lesbian, she acts like Janice's reaction to being bullied that made her drop out of middle school and return to high school in the fall, chopping off her hair and embracing being an outcast, was Janice's own problem and not Regina's. However, sometimes she does things that are oddly nice, given her character, in her own manipulative way. When she first meets Katie, she rescues her from a guy that's making a rather disgusting joke and humiliates him. And when Gretchen sees her crush interacting with another girl and is obviously really upset about it, Regina gets the girl out of the way by calling the girl's mother and pretending to be a Planned Parenthood doctor for no other apparent reason than to make Gretchen feel better. She's also pretty nice to her sister, at least nicer than a character like her would normally be. She's attractive, and more importantly, she's the most socially intelligent. That's what gives her the power to manipulate others so well. She understands people's fears and insecurities. She's also rich, all of which are assets that she can leverage. She created these arbitrary rules for the plastics for no other reason than to control them and keep them in line. She demonstrates her sociopathic intelligence several times, and it's clear that she derives pleasure from this. The moment that spoke to me the most was when she phoned Katie.
Yeah, it was pretty bitchy, but I'm not mad. I mean, I guess she just likes the attention.
See, Gretch, I told you she's not mad at you.
I can't believe you think I like attention.
Okay, love ya. See you tomorrow.
Gretchen listening on this conversation was Regina's way of keeping all her sidekicks in check. She deliberately plays people off against each other, manipulating them and their insecurities.
Why do you wear your hair like that? Your hair looks so sexy pushed back. Katie, will you please tell him his hair looks sexy pushed back?
She lies to Aaron about Katie. I'd go so far as to say that she made the burn book all along as blackmail capital. It's a dead man's switch, which she can use as leverage against anybody who contemplates backstabbing her. She knows a lot about everybody. People like Gretchen seek Regina's approval and freely divulge information to earn that approval. Notice how insidious Regina is. She got Katie to insult Miss Sharon in the burn book. All of this is leverage that Regina puts together to shore up her own social capital. Until now, we're just scratching the surface. We need to look deeper. We're gonna look at how attractiveness rules girl world. This is absolutely central to the plot. Attractiveness is the social currency in the Darwinian environment of North Shore High. It isn't a coincidence that the plastic invited Katie to sit at the table with them. They effectively talent scouted her. Regina noticed Katie for the potential threat that she was. If the plastics invited her into the group, they can control her. If she were left as a free agent, she would earn the attention of the attractive boys, such as Aaron, and she would threaten the alpha status of Regina and the plastics.
Homeschooled. That's really interesting.
Thanks.
You're like really pretty.
Thank you.
So you agree? What? You think you're really pretty? Oh.
This whole conversation with Katie is a classic test from Regina. She's basically trying to figure out exactly how socially intelligent Katie is. Is she cunning like Regina, naive like Gretchen, or plain stupid like Karen? Another crucial scene is when she kissed Aaron, which was probably Regina's way of establishing dominance over Katie.
What are you doing? You broke up with me.
That's crazy. Why would I break up with you? You're so hot.
Regina recognizes Katie as a threat and wants to crush her as quickly and thoroughly as possible. She didn't anticipate that the homeschooled girl would have the guts to fight back. But when she controls the whole school, she has to control her alpha group, which still have in-group politics. Katie alludes to this when describing how she found herself desiring Regina's approval despite hating her. This is a very common trope in toxic abusive relationships everywhere. People get drawn to power, even if it burns them. Gretchen too chooses to be miserable within the plastics rather than leave it, because the plastics as a collective are the alpha group. Better to be the bottom feeder in the best group than to be outside of it. Narcissists are happier, tougher, and less stressed, according to science. They can easily attract a following of people. In fact, people who have high levels of narcissism also tend to be mentally tougher and have lower rates of depression and stress than their humbler peers. That's because many people with narcissistic traits are driven by the belief that they deserve the best in life. Regina has too many assets. Her looks, the attention she gets from boys, and above all, her shrewd understanding of interpersonal relations, people's insecurities, fears, wants, and needs, and all the blackmail content she has. Even though she changed in the end, she still has that social intelligence and ability to control people around her like it's nothing. Regina George took control of her destiny, even in the rigid jungle-like world of high school. We love her because she took advantage of all the things that were set up against her and made it to the top.
She's got a point. She's an icon. She's a legend. And she is the moment. Now come on now.
Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed this video. Comment which character would you like me to analyze next. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next week.